What if the secret to a resilient heart wasn't to avoid being broken, but to become the artisan of your own repair?
We are all temporary light. Do not curse the universe for the coming darkness.
Love. We are told it is the pinnacle of human experience, the very summit of our emotional lives. And yet, if we are truly honest with ourselves, it is also frequently the source of our deepest, most persistent suffering. Consider the particulars, the quiet anxiety of a message delivered and seen, yet met with prolonged silence. The sharp, resonant sting of a harsh word uttered in a flash of anger, which echoes in the mind long after apologies have been made. The profound, hollowing gravity of betrayal.
The Stoics gave us a terrifying tool for appreciation.
The very ground upon which you built your world simply vanishes. Or indeed the most common pain of all, the quiet, lingering ache of loss, a constant presence in the space a person once occupied. We offer our heart to another, hoping for wholeness, yet often feel it is returned to us in pieces. We construct the edifice of our happiness upon the foundation of another's affection, their attention, their fidelity, and then profess surprise when we feel so fragile, so easily fractured. But what if this fragility is not an inherent feature of love, but rather a fundamental flaw in its design?
The modern lover tries to harvest a garden they do not tend.
You will drive yourself mad trying to force the fruit from the branch. Tend to the soil instead. Be a good gardener, that is all.
What if, in the spirit of the Japanese art of kintsugi, the objective was not to find a perfect, unbroken vessel, but to learn to become the craftsman of your own composure, mending your own fractures with gold?
The event is the crack, that is a simple fact. The story you tell yourself about it, that is the gold. You are the craftsman.
The ancient Stoics, who were the original physicians of the human condition, would diagnose our modern heartbreak with a piercing and ruthless clarity. The problem, they would assert, is not love itself. The problem is that we have made our peace of mind, our tranquility, contingent upon matters we do not and indeed cannot control. Another person's feelings, their choices, their moods, their continued presence in our lives. These are all, in the Stoic lexicon, externals, things indifferent to our core well-being. When we stake our happiness upon these externals, we have, in the words of the great Stoic teacher Epictetus, attached our well-being to things not our own. And this, he warned, leads to the greatest errors, misfortunes, and troubles, and to the slavery of the soul. Consider that phrase for a moment, the slavery of the soul. When your sense of well-being rises and falls with your partner's mood, are you truly free? When a lack of validation from them can destabilize your entire day, who is truly master of your emotional state? When we operate this way, we are no longer a sovereign state. We are a mere colony whose emotional equilibrium is entirely at the mercy of another. This is not the foundation for a true, deep connection. It is the perfect recipe for a state of constant, low-grade anxiety, punctuated by moments of crisis. The Stoic solution, therefore, is not to cease loving. It is to alter the very foundation of how we love. It is a call to a quiet revolution, to withdraw our happiness from the chaotic world of externals and anchor it in the one territory we truly possess and can command, our own character, our own reason, our own virtue. It is, in essence, to construct an inner citadel for the heart.
The construction of this citadel of the heart is not a matter of passive wishing. It is an active engineering project. It requires the application of the same 3 disciplines the Stoics used to fortify the mind against all of life's vicissitudes. First, the discipline of perception. This constitutes our watchtower. We must learn to see our relationships as they are, divested of the painful narratives, the catastrophic judgments, and the cognitive distortions we impose upon every event. Second, the discipline of action. This is our code of conduct within the Citadel's walls. We must shift our entire focus from what we might get from a partner to how we might be a virtuous partner. And why? Because our own actions are the only currency in the relationship to which we have an indisputable claim. And third, the discipline of will. This is the Citadel's final, unbreachable keep. We must learn to accept the impermanence of all things, even our most cherished relationships, so that we can face the inevitable storms of heartbreak, grief, and loss, not with bitterness, but with a profound and steadying grace. This tripartite blueprint is the path to a love that strengthens rather than shatters. It is the means by which we learn to love from a place of fullness rather than a place of need. Let us begin the work. Let us lay the first stone.
Part 1. The discipline of perception. The vast majority of our relationship conflicts are not caused by events themselves, but by our interpretations, our judgments about those events. Let us consider a simple, common scenario. Your partner arrives home from their work, seems distant, and offers only monosyllabic replies to your questions. The event itself is neutral. It is merely data. Our untrained mind, however, immediately begins to author a narrative. The narrative may be, "They are displeased with me. What have I done wrong?" This story creates anxiety. Or the story might be, "They no longer find me interesting. They are pulling away." This story creates fear and insecurity. Or perhaps, "How utterly disrespectful. They cannot even be bothered to engage in a civil conversation." This story creates anger. The first discipline is the practice of objective perception. It is the art of inserting a pause between the event and the narrative. It is the skill of separating raw fact from subjective judgment. "My partner is ignoring me" becomes the more objective, "My partner has been quiet since they arrived home." "You're trying to hurt me" becomes the more accurate, "When you said that, I experienced a feeling of being hurt." This is not an exercise in suppressing emotion. It is an exercise in forensics. It is about interrogating the beliefs that give rise to our feelings. When you feel that hot flash of anger or that cold dread of jealousy, the Stoic neither represses it nor do they immediately act upon it. They pause and they ask, "What specific judgment have I made that is causing this powerful feeling? Is this judgment unequivocally true, or is there another, more charitable, or perhaps more rational interpretation?"
This practice is the single greatest tool for de-escalating conflict. When approaching a difficult conversation, your objective is no longer to win the argument or to prove that your painful narrative is the correct one. Your new objective is to calmly state the observable facts and describe how they affected you, whilst leaving space for their reality. You shift from accusation to observation. Instead of, "You never listen to me," you might try, "I noticed you were looking at your phone whilst I was speaking just now, and the story I told myself was that you weren't listening. That made me feel rather unimportant." This approach invites dialogue rather than compelling defense. It is honest, but it is also humble. It acknowledges that your perception, however potent it feels, is but one side of the complete story. This is the practice of clear, precise communication, free from the distortions of unexamined emotion. So here is your practical exercise for this discipline: the Objective Relationship Journal. At the end of each day this week, select one interaction that caused you emotional distress. Create 2 columns. In the first, document your initial subjective impression. In the second, write a brutally objective, factual description of what occurred, as if you were a security camera recording the event. No mind reading, no assumptions. Over time, this simple practice trains your mind to perceive the gap between reality and your story about it. And within that gap, you shall find the freedom to choose a better story.
Part 2. The Discipline of Action. The modern conception of love, heavily influenced by romanticism, is often deeply transactional. It operates upon a hidden ledger of needs and expectations. We fixate on what we are getting. Are they meeting my needs? Are they making me happy? It asks, am I being a good partner? Am I acting with virtue in this moment? This is the dichotomy of control applied directly to the heart. You cannot, ultimately, control if your partner loves you. You cannot control their fidelity. You cannot control their choice to remain with you tomorrow. These are powerful, significant, yet ultimately external matters. So what then do you control, completely and absolutely? Your own character within the relationship. You can choose to be patient when they are being trying. You can choose to be kind when you are tired. You can choose to be honest when the truth is difficult. You can choose to be just and fair in your disagreements. This is perhaps the most liberating realization one can have. Your sense of being a good and lovable person is no longer dependent upon their reaction or approval. It is founded entirely upon your own chosen actions. This is the very source of true self-respect. The Stoics called this living in accordance with the common good. In a partnership, this means viewing the relationship as a shared space, a third entity that you have a duty to care for through your virtuous conduct. You serve the relationship, not merely your own needs.
This implies that you practice empathy, not as a tactic to achieve a desired outcome, but as a genuine effort to understand their perspective before demanding to be understood. It means you take responsibility for your part in a conflict without any need for them to admit fault first. It is a radical ownership of your role. So, here is your exercise for the discipline of action, the weekly virtue practice. At the beginning of the week, select one of the 4 cardinal Stoic virtues to focus on within your relationship. Suppose you choose temperance. This week, you will practice moderation in your reactions. You will not lash out. You will insert a breath before you speak. Or perhaps you select courage. This week, you will initiate that difficult but necessary conversation you have been avoiding. Or justice. This week, you will make a conscious effort to ensure the division of domestic labor is fair and equitable. For 1 week, make a conscious effort to embody that virtue in your interactions, irrespective of your partner's behavior. Do not do it to elicit a reaction. Do not keep score. Do it because it is the right way to act. Do it for the sake of your own character. This is how one builds a love founded on the rock of one's own integrity, not the shifting sands of another's approval.
Part 3. The Discipline of Will. This is the most demanding discipline. This is our training for winter. It is the discipline that guards the citadel against the ultimate, inevitable storms: heartbreak, betrayal, and loss. The Stoics teach us to prepare for this not with a cowering fear, but with a radical and courageous form of appreciation. Epictetus offers a startling, almost shocking meditation. He suggests that when you kiss your child or your spouse or your friend, you should quietly remind yourself that they are mortal, that what you love has been given to you for the present, not that it should not be taken from you. To the modern sensibility, this may sound morbid, even callous, but one must understand its purpose. It is an instrument to combat the most dangerous illusion of all, the illusion of permanence. By contemplating loss, not obsessively, but as a quiet, grounding reminder, we learn to cherish the present moment with an intensity that is otherwise impossible. We love them more, not less, because we are keenly aware that our time together is a finite and precious gift. When loss does arrive, through a breakup, a betrayal, or a death, the discipline of will is what permits us to endure with grace. It is the practice of amor fati, the love of one's fate. This does not mean you are pleased that it happened. It does not mean you pretend you are not in pain. Grief is natural, and Seneca reminds us we should permit our tears to flow, but not to wail. The pain is real. The heartbreak is real. But the narrative we construct about the pain is our choice.
We can interpret a breakup as a definitive judgment on our worth, a personal failure that will define us for all time. Or we can choose to see it as a painful but necessary part of our path, an opportunity to practice forgiveness, to grow in resilience, to learn what we truly need, and to rebuild ourselves anew. We must accept what has happened, because to fight reality is a battle we will always lose, a battle that serves only to deepen our suffering. The obstacle, even this one, must become the way forward. Seneca, who knew immense loss himself, advises that after a period of mourning, we should actively work to make the memory of our lost loved ones a pleasant one. We must choose to focus on the joy they brought us, the lessons they taught us, the ways in which our lives were enriched by their presence, rather than dwelling solely on the pain of their absence. This is a profound act of will. It is a choice to honor them with our healing, not with our perpetual suffering. So what does it mean to love from a fortified heart? It is not a life devoid of deep, powerful feeling. It is a life without the slavery of feeling. It is the quiet freedom that comes from knowing your happiness is not a fragile object held in someone else's hands, but an unshakable fortress you have built, stone by stone, within yourself.
You can love with immense depth and generosity, because your love becomes a gift you choose to give, not a transaction from which you must extract a profit. You can navigate conflict with clarity and justice, because your ego is not at stake in every minor disagreement. You can face the terrifying possibility of loss with courage, because you have practiced appreciating the present and accepting the true nature of reality. This is the state that Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king, described as being free of passion and yet full of love.
It is a love that is not defined by anxious attachment or desperate clinging, but by virtue, connection, and a profound, unshakable inner peace. To build the citadel of the heart is the work of a lifetime. It requires daily, patient practice in how you see, how you act, and how you will yourself to accept. But the blueprints are here. The ancient tools are yours. To help you begin this important work, we have created a free, guided PDF, a Stoic's Guide to Resilient Relationships. It contains specific journaling prompts and practical daily exercises based on the 3 disciplines we have discussed today, all designed to help you build a love that is strong, virtuous, and truly free. Click the link in the description to download your guide. Begin the work, lay the stones, and construct a heart that can love fully, without fear, and endure anything.